All right. Well, hello there. I'm Matt Eller, and I coach at STMA High School in our wrestling program here. And I am honored to be here with current coach and former alumni, Brian Becker. So, Brian, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your wrestling and what you're up to now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Matt. For me, wrestled all the way through high school, elementary, high school through St. Michael. And I actually just did 1 year of college wrestling. And then actually now I moved back. I've been out of the St. Michael, Albertville area for almost 25 years. So happy to be back in the area, happy to be back coaching, helping out with the program. I work for a company called Trimble Transportation in their IT product area.
Awesome. Now, Brian, where did you wrestle in college?
I did 1 year at Wilmer Community College.
Nice. That's awesome.
Okay.
I didn't know that before. I think you mentioned that maybe in passing, but I wasn't sure of that before. So that's awesome. So some of these questions will apply to you too, since you had some collegiate experience too. Yeah. So you kind of took care of the first question, which is when did you start wrestling? But why did you come out for the sport? What drew you to wrestling?
Family. Kind of like just the wrestling family. Actually, I have 3 older brothers, all wrestled. My older brother, Jeff, was a state champion. And so was able to wrestle with him on the varsity his senior year, my 8th grade year. So just things like that. Yeah. So from 1st grade on, I just fell in love with the sport, couldn't get enough. I knew the stats of every STMA wrestler and Wright County Conference wrestler at that point as well.
That's awesome. That answer is so common. It's either it's part of our family and and everyone in our family just did, and it was kind of a rites of passage, or it was I joined wrestling and then it became my family. So that's awesome. That's awesome. You kind of had both, I guess, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet. So when you were competing, what did you enjoy most about the sport of wrestling?
You know, the camaraderie, definitely. Some of my greatest memories are even before getting on the mat. It's the running out to Rocky, warming up with the team. When we were there, we had spotlights on us. I remember going to Monticello, and you could only see the center portion of the mat. Just things like that. The team behind you pumping you up. Getting goosebumps with the national anthem. If that's sung or played, the pep band, all of that stuff is just great memories. And that just leads up to getting on the mat and showing your grit and really who you are. So much more than just the mat, but that's a huge piece of it.
That's awesome. And an answer that hasn't really been shared from some of the other interviews. So that's cool. And it's a cool angle. For sure. I remember getting chills too, just not even being out there, getting ready to go out there, right?
Yes.
Like you said, the anthem was always huge, and just that environment, right, was just still, even today gives you a little bit of chills,
Absolutely.
Awesome. So what are you most proud of when you look back at your STMA wrestling experience?
Yeah. Right now I'm very proud to call myself a STMA alum. Anywhere I go, talk wrestling with people, and I make sure to tell them I'm from St. Michael, Albertville. And the look on their face is like, oh, they have a great program, great kids. And so just from a proud perspective, it's how we carried ourselves. People got in trouble, definitely, and did silly things. But just from good students, hard workers, the way the program is built and continues has just been, it's just great to be part of the program back when I was wrestling, and actually now to be able to come back and help.
That's awesome. And you and I both have some experience outside of being involved in STMA wrestling. Yeah. And it truly, it truly is a name that resonates throughout the wrestling community, both in the state and beyond. Like the longevity of this program really, unless you go outside of it, it's really hard to see just how amazing that is to be able to sustain this longevity, right? A lot of programs have some ups and downs. St. Michael seems to be pretty flat in a positive way. So
yes. Yep, definitely.
Awesome. So let's talk about some challenges. As you know, wrestling presents itself with tons of challenges. What is one challenge that really sticks out to you that you experienced as a wrestler that you had to overcome in order to have success on the mat?
Yeah. For me, it was really the tournaments. Tournaments get long, and not getting too high or too low. So if you lose a match, you need to be able to come back. One, they're keeping team points, so it's not just you out there; it's for your team. That was a huge thing. It's just maintaining that. You know what? Yep, learn from the loss, but let's bounce back and come back in the wrestlebacks. Or man, I just had a great match, a great upset. Let's not let that next match down. So that's definitely something. And I know just across watching so many wrestlers, they come out with a huge win and then they just come flat that next one. I think that's just a huge, huge thing to make sure you're able to do yourself. The coach can be there for you as much as possible, but you need to really prepare mentally, and that's a big challenge.
Awesome. Good perspective, Brian, for sure. Let's see here. Next one I have for you. What parts of your wrestling career at STMA have translated well into what you did at Wilmer College here? When you got on campus, you could say, oh, I did this in my high school room. That made me feel more ready for that collegiate experience.
I think it was just, after the fact, that's what I noticed from St. Michael compared to other programs in high school is people stayed after. We ran, we did push-ups, we wrestled more, crunch, whatever it was. So going to Wilmer and you kind of practice is over and you kind of look around and half the people are leaving. It's like, what's going on? So it's that hard work. It's that mentality of, yeah, you put in a tough practice, but guess what? It's overtime now. And really trying to pull that out. So it's definitely the hard work. Listening to your coaches, your mentors is a huge part of it. The 1 year at Wilmer, there was a couple kids that they were above the coach, which, you know what, the coach has been around a long time, has seen a lot of stuff. So it's really listening to your mentors, your coaches, and the hard work that we really grew up with.
Awesome. Yeah, that's unique to this program. I wrestled at a different high school growing up, had, like you, 1 year of collegiate experience, and that's unique here, staying after and getting some extra time in, whatever that may be. It was like, it used to, like when I wrestled, you just left and you were like, oh, thank goodness it's over. Now it's like you said, it's overtime, right? It's on your own time. It's time to improve, right? Which for most people, they left that at the end of practice, right? So that's a really unique thing about our program, and that's cool that stuck out to you for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's kind of fun because we're going a little off the cuff a little bit, or a little off track, I should say. Do you have a sports hero, or who do you look up to in wrestling or any other sports?
Yeah. Not many people know this person, but it's Johnny Castino. Johnny Castino used to play third or second base for the Minnesota Twins. It was late 70s, early 80s when I was really getting into sports and watching. Like I said, I knew the stats to a lot of different things, especially wrestling. But I just liked how he carried himself. Just a hard worker. They would always show him working extra, things like that. He carried the number 2. And so anybody who knows me, my favorite number is 2. And just looked up to that. And it's kind of been the part where, it's good player, good person, a lot of talent, but it's really the acting of I've been there, done that type of thing. And I correlate that to Greg Greeno as well. Learned so much from him going through the program and just how to maintain that and be really a great person along with the sport. It really helped me learn how to respect the sport. And that's kind of where that Johnny Castino comes to. It's not just wrestling or basketball, baseball, whatever it is. It's just you learn to respect the sport and work hard to get where you want.
That's awesome. What a great role model. And even as you mentioned, Coach Greeno kind of embodying some of those same key principles and values. That's awesome. We're going to have him on for an interview too sometime. So
very good.
That'll come out. That'll be illustrated through our talk too. So that's awesome. Thanks, Brian. This is always a tough one, but what is one regret that you have about your high school wrestling career? So this could be a team goal that maybe you guys didn't accomplish, or individual goal you didn't accomplish, or just a practice habit or nutrition habit. It really can be kind of whatever you think here.
Yeah. Everyone has regrets. There's no doubt about it. There's 2 or 3 that really resonate really close to me. One, specifically, anybody on the 89 season team knows we tied Painesville in the section finals. We lost on criteria. I go back, if I would have got that major, we're on our way to state. So that's definitely where I feel like I let the team down. So it's tough. It is tough, but from that, you have to learn. And that's the part about not getting too high, too low. It was tough because the team didn't make it, but boy, we had to bounce back that next weekend because that was individual sections. And so that's the part about getting back at it, learning from those mistakes and not letting anything else stop you from there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great thing to reflect on. And like you mentioned, I think just the longer I'm away from my high school wrestling career, the more I can look back and think, oh, I wish this would have gone differently. So, and that's true in life, right? Like, as a teacher and as somebody who works out in the business world, we're constantly reflecting on where we could improve and be better. And I think overall, like, wrestling really helps you kind of develop that process,
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. I just have 3 more for you here, Brian. So you're doing awesome. And this is a lot of fun for me. So let's see here. So how did you change your nutrition habits to be a better performer on the mat? What kind of adjustments did you need to make?
For me, I was lucky enough that growing up on a farm, my mom was an amazing cook. And so we were very fortunate. As much as I hated my vegetables, you know what? We had our meat, our potatoes, and our vegetable, and I would try and choke those down. But it was maintaining. For me, I still ate, and I still tell people, don't stop eating. You have to eat, but eat healthy. Don't pick up the bag of chips, or the candy. So it's just a little bit healthier eating. And for me, it's working out. I mean, again, growing up on a farm, I would get up, do chores in the morning, get a workout in the morning, go to practice, stay after practice, go back home, do chores. I always tell the story of my brothers and I, we would throw on our big sorrel boots and do hill sprints in the snow. So it's working out, that really helped because then you can eat. You're working harder, you're burning stuff. But again, it's really the healthy eating and having, not being the first one in the family to go through it helped. I just learned from them. So that was a huge, huge help as well.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you had that experience. And I think that's a big learning curve for a lot of high school kids because, skipping a meal or skipping water, like, materially produces a quick result on the scale, right? With long-term negative effects, right?
Correct.
Whereas if you can do it the right way, you can feel good on the mat, and that difference is still there on the scale and what it needs to be, but it's through the process and the right process, which is key.
Correct. Yes.
Awesome. I didn't have the learning curve hit me as early as it hit you on that one. So
yeah, lucky me. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, and a lot of it just comes from just your lifestyle too, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I do have 3 more. I said 3 more last time. I have 3 more here. So you were an incredibly successful individual wrestler. What did you learn about teamwork from being on some of the teams that you were on?
Yeah. Man, balance. Everybody, I mean, at that point, when I started out, we had 12 weight classes. We moved to 13. We needed 13 people on that mat. So everybody needed to be there. I remember, and I don't remember the story, but somebody brought it up to me a couple of years ago when I ran into them. They were out partying one night, And I guess I had found out. And so I took it to them in practice that next day and really made them work, and it made them think. And so that was just something, from a teamwork perspective, we have to be there for each other. And that's just a huge part. If you let somebody down, I talked about the 89 season where if I would have got a major, if someone else, maybe wouldn't have lost. There's just little things here and there. If you're carrying each other, you're going to get through it. Not always successful, but long-term, you're going to learn things from it. Teamwork is just so huge, even though you're on the mat alone with that other person.
Awesome. That's really reflective and an awesome answer. So, Brian, what has wrestling taught you, and how do you apply that knowledge to your life now?
Definitely work hard. Never give up. Never give up. I mean, you have to work hard for where you want to go, what you want to do. I was not good in school, and I got into the workplace and just busted my butt and, worked hard, proved to my managers and bosses of what I can do and get promotions from there. So that's just something I learned. Being a good person, that goes along with being there for the team or the company. There's a lot of infighting when it comes to companies, for those people that are out in the workplace, and just there for the company. You're looking for the greater good of the company on everything you do, type of thing, not trying to up that next your peer or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And so you really learn that on the mat. You have to do it yourself. You have to succeed yourself, but that impacts your team, your community, and how you act from there. So it starts, everything you learn. There's a lot of practices, Coach Eller, that you talked about, and I brought up different scenarios, how what I rely on back in my workplace. It all ties together.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, kind of like another question before, the long view that you can have. You can say, boy, a lot of that I learned in the room, or I'm applying that from what I learned in the room in my daily life, right?
Yes.
So it kind of becomes materially more obvious, or more present at least, the longer you reflect back on what you really learned in the wrestling room.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, last one, and you can kind of take this in a variety of angles here, but what is one piece of advice you would give to anyone starting their wrestling career to help them be a successful wrestler? So this could be that 9th grader coming out, could be a kid that's starting in elementary school, as you mentioned you did. What's one piece of advice that you would offer to help them be successful?
Man, kind of go with multiple pieces.
Yeah, you can.
So, definitely plan to work hard. There's no doubt about it. When it comes to wrestling, you have to work hard. If you don't put the work in, you're not going to get the benefit of it out there. Whether it's in that next match, the next season, in your career, whatever it is. So definitely plan to work hard. Wrestling is the toughest sport. I don't know anybody who can argue against that, mentally and physically. I just, a couple years ago, I ran a marathon. I can't do a 6-minute match right now with people. It is so physically and mentally exhausting. You have to react. You have to go after the person. So no other sports like that. So you have to prepare yourself. It's huge. And even though you are on the mat one-on-one with your competitor and showing the grit and winning that, the team is behind you. And it's the same thing. You have to prepare for your match, just like you have to help the team prepare for theirs, and be there for them. A couple things I say: enjoy it. You have to enjoy the moment. Enjoy your team. You have to love what you do. It's a huge thing for me, and something I tell all the kids that go out there: have fun with it. Some guys go out there and their competitor is not equal to them. So go out and try a few things, that you're going to, practice up on and things like that. And then there are times you're going against a better wrestler. You better remember what you learned, but still have fun with it and enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, especially with such a demanding sport, some of the fun gets lost, right? And having that mindset of just have fun, because it's, as you know, it's gone before you know it, and you got to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, awesome. Well, Brian, this has been so much fun. Hopefully we can get you on to do something like this again. I know we're going to do some coaches interviews at some point here. So we'll kind of be in your ear again on that. But thank you so much for doing this interview. We really appreciate it. And thanks for all that you did for our program when you were competing here and all that you're doing now for our program. It's really awesome. And we're glad to have you a part of the STMA wrestling family. So
glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Great. All right. Well, I'll end the recording now, Brian.
Okay.